everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for A Conspiracy of Blood and Smoke by Blankman. This review will be spoiler-free as long as you have read A Prisoner of Night and Fog by Blankman, which is the first book in this duology. So if you haven't read this one yet, go and read it and then come back and watch this again, and then you can decide if you want to continue on with the series. I actually have a review for this one up. It's the very first review I did, so it's not very good, but I will link it down below nonetheless. So like I just mentioned, this is the second book in the Prisoner of Night and Fog duology, and now Gretchen is hiding in England as Gretchen Whitestone. She is living a great life. She finally feels pretty content as she's hiding with the family of the psychologist from England that she was talking to in the first book. So she's hiding in England with Daniel, and everything is fine up until Daniel gets a telegram that forces him to return to Germany. So Daniel returns to Germany, and Gretchen finds out that he is wanted for murder in Germany, and of course she has to go back and try and save him and figure out what is going on. So now that she's back in Germany, Gretchen is living in fear of being discovered and recognized and being brought back face to face with her old uncle Hitler. But at the same time, she's trying to help Daniel to clear his name, and along the way they discover some conspiracy theories that could possibly break up the Nazi regime forever. The writing of these books has never really stood out to me. It's not that it's bad, it's just, it's never really been the thing that makes me want to read these books so much. It's not like phenomenal or anything. It is a little bit juvenile, but I mean, it is a young adult novel. I don't think the juvenile thing is really for me anymore, but I do like how she takes on these prominent figures in history and isn't afraid to like have them speak. Mostly if you ever have a really prominent figure in history in like a fiction novel, then they won't really speak too much, I find, but in this one they speak and they have a voice of their own, and I think it's just a really bold move of hers to kind of try and understand these really prominent figures in history and try and speak as them, and I really like that. My one thing is I kind of wish it had been written in dual perspective. I did really like having Gretchen's perspective of everything, but I think it would have kind of taken the story to a whole nother level if we had also gotten Daniel's perspective, because he was a really interesting character and someone who I really wanted to understand. I was really intrigued by him, but just seeing him through Gretchen's eyes, you don't really get to delve that much inside his mind, and I do think that would have kind of taken the story to another level. Overall, I gave the writing a 4 out of 5 stars. As far as the characters go, I think Gretchen is one of the most interesting characters that I've ever read, because in the first book, when you compare her from the first book to now, she's a completely different person. She completely had her life turned upside down in the first book, and now she's just trying to kind of cope with everything that has happened in this book, but you can see how mature she is. She's very like mature beyond her years, and she's very brave because she was bold enough to kind of defy Hitler and run away from him, and just for Daniel, just for the boy she loves, she's willing to go back to Germany and risk the fact that she could be discovered again, and knowing that she would be like brutally tortured and killed, she's not afraid of that because she knows that Daniel needs her. And I think that really made me appreciate her as a character. She's kind of willing to do anything to uncover the truth and save those she loves, and I really liked that. As far as Daniel goes, like I said, I wish this had been written in dual perspective because he was such an intriguing character. I really would have loved to see his take on things as not only as a reporter but also as a Jewish man in 1930s Germany. I think it would have been really interesting to see kind of how he is viewing everything, and I think through Gretchen we didn't really get to know him very well, so what I did see of him I liked, but I mean I can't really make that much of a judgment because you didn't get to see too much of him. Overall, I gave the characters a 4.5 out of 5 stars. As far as the plot goes, this one had a lot of things were similar with the first one, but then a lot of things were also very unique. For example, in the first one, it was mostly about Gretchen kind of uncovering the horrors of the Nazi regime and everything that her uncle Hitler has done. But in this one, she already knew all that, and she's kind of trying to cope with everything, like the fact that her world was completely turned upside down. She's trying to build a new life for herself, and in the midst of that, she ends up brought back to exactly where she had escaped. So the story becomes this kind of mystery where we're trying to figure out what happened to the girl who Daniel supposedly murdered and like why she was murdered and all of that. So we did have the mystery aspect in the first book with her father, but now it becomes a different person and they're really invested in trying to figure out this murder, and along the way they meet lots of fun and quirky characters, and along the way you're also like on the edge of your seat trying to figure out, are they gonna get caught? Like, is she going to end up meeting Hitler again? Like, you never know, because these characters are so at risk. Like, they could die any second throughout the book, and I think that it made for such an interesting story because I was honestly on the edge of my seat the whole time. I had no idea what was going to happen, and it was just crazy. This book also kind of touched upon the psychology of things, which happened a lot in the first book. It wasn't a ton in this one, but I did really like that that was kind of brought up again because I thought it was a very unique kind of look at Hitler and her brother as well. I thought it kind of added a lot to the story to kind of be thinking of this psychological level. So overall, I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really solid continuation, and I really liked seeing what happened after the first book because the first book isn't a cliffhanger, but the fates of the characters is really just up in the air. So it was really nice to see what happened to them, and it wasn't what I expected was going to happen at all. But my only complaint is I wish there was another book, because in this one, the fates of the characters aren't really like secure because it ends at like 1930 something. It ends before all of the big stuff starts happening. So World War II hasn't started yet, and they're not really like aggressively hunting down Jews. Like, it was just starting, that was just starting to happen, and I just wish that I had gotten more of a conclusion. I kind of want to see like how Gretchen and Daniel are going to deal with that and how their families like fare, and I just wish that I could get a little bit more because I know, like, reading this, knowing history, I know what's coming, and they're content, they're fine, they're like, okay, we're fine now, but they're not, and I just really wish I could know what happens to them in like when everything starts getting crazy. So I think this book would be great for fans of The Book Thief or The Diviners or All the Light We Cannot See. All of those are kind of historical fictions with kind of a mystery aspect, except the Book Thief doesn't really have that mystery aspect, but it does have kind of similar things going on. I just think you would like this if you liked them. So that's going to be all for today's review. Let me know if you have read this book, what your thoughts were, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!